So, we're all in on this massive shift to clean energy, right? But there's this one huge, glaring problem we have to solve to make it all work. And that problem is storage. Today, we're going to break down the key technology that really unlocks a truly renewable future.
Okay, here's the game plan. First, we'll dig into what we're calling the renewable paradox. Then, we'll look at how we actually capture all that clean energy. After that, we'll check out the power banks running our grid right now, get a little sneak peek at the next generation of tech, and finally, wrap it all up by figuring out what this all means for our electric future.
All right, Section 1, the renewable paradox. And yeah, it sounds a little dramatic, but honestly, it's the central hurdle we've got to overcome. See, our very best sources of clean power, they have a fundamental built-in flaw.
You know, it's a pretty simple question, but it gets right to the heart of the whole problem. I mean, you see solar panels and wind turbines everywhere now. But have you ever stopped to think about what happens when the sun isn't shining or when the wind just stops blowing? Where's our electricity coming from then?
And look, the speed we're adopting this stuff is truly incredible. We are building out renewable capacity faster than at any other point in history. But, and this is the big but, there's a huge catch. The sun and the wind, they don't always show up when we need power the most.
This slide really lays out the core challenge perfectly. On one side, you've got fossil fuels. Think of it like a light switch. You flick it, you get power. It's on demand 24/7. But then you have renewables. They operate on nature's schedule, not ours. Yeah, they're powerful, they're clean, but they are, by their very nature, intermittent. They come and go.
And that leads us right into our next section, capturing clean energy. So if intermittency is the problem, then being able to store that energy isn't just a nice-to-have, it's the absolutely essential solution. This is how we make renewables truly reliable.
Yeah, think about it like this. What if we had a kind of giant energy sponge? Something that could just soak up all that excess solar power being generated in the middle of a sunny afternoon, and then you could just squeeze it all out in the evening when everyone gets home and starts turning on their lights, their TVs, you name it. That's the basic idea here.
Okay, so here's the more official definition. Energy storage is basically capturing energy that's produced at one time so you can use it at a later time. The whole point is to act as a buffer, to smooth out those unpredictable peaks and valleys you get with wind and solar generation.
And the process itself is actually beautifully simple. So, step 1, your solar and wind farms are cranking out tons of electricity when it's sunny and windy. Step 2, any of that power you don't use right away, instead of being wasted, it gets sent over to a storage system to get charged up. And then step 3, when the sun goes down or the wind dies off, boom, you just dispatch that stored energy right back to the grid. Problem solved.
Okay, so that's the big idea. Now let's get real and see how this is actually working in the world today. Section 3. Today's power banks. What are the technologies that are actually doing this job for us right now?
Okay, now this chart, this is probably not what you were expecting. A massive, whopping 90% of our current grid storage comes from a technology that's over a century old. It's called pumped storage hydro. It's basically a giant water battery. And what about those lithium-ion batteries we hear so much about? Well, they're growing like crazy, but they still only make up about 8% of the total pie.
And this table explains perfectly why the race for new solutions is so hot right now. Pumped hydro is amazing, don't get me wrong, it can last for 50 years or more. But you literally need a mountain and a ton of water to build one. We're talking about re-engineering the landscape. On the flip side, you have lithium-ion batteries. You can build those pretty much anywhere, and their costs are dropping like a rock. The catch? They have a much shorter lifespan. So you see, neither one is the perfect silver bullet solution. All right, and this brings us to what I think is the most exciting part of this whole story. Section 4, the next generation. Let's take a look at the incredible, sometimes wild, innovations that are all competing to become the future of energy storage. I mean, on the horizon, we've got some truly mind-bending ideas. First, there's green hydrogen. Here, you use excess renewable electricity to split water into hydrogen gas, creating a totally clean fuel you can store for ages. It could even power heavy industry or massive cargo ships. Then you've got solid-state batteries. These are the potential successors to lithium-ion, promising to hold way more energy and be much safer, which could totally revolutionize electric cars. And then there's gravity storage, and I love this one. It's this beautifully simple idea of using cheap surplus electricity to lift these massive blocks of concrete and then just letting them fall to generate power when you need it most. So simple, but so clever.
And that brings us to our final section, our electric future. And I want to be clear, this isn't just some interesting engineering problem for tech nerds. Solving the energy storage puzzle is genuinely one of the most important challenges of our time.
You know, I absolutely love this quote. It just perfectly captures the moment we're living in. We're not moving away from fossil fuels because we're about to run out of them. Nope, we're moving on because we've invented something better. And energy storage, that's the crucial key that makes that something better actually work for everyone all the time.
And the stakes here, they could not be higher. Just look at this number. Global electricity demand is projected to soar by 50% by the year 2050. Trying to meet that massive increase with clean energy is just flat out impossible without a huge build-out of energy storage. It's not a nice to have, it is absolutely essential.
And look, this technology isn't some abstract thing happening in a lab somewhere. This is what's going to keep your lights on with solar power long after the sun is set. It's what will charge your electric car with wind power that was actually generated hours, maybe even days earlier. It is the missing link that finally lets us have a 100% clean and reliable grid.
So that leaves us with the big question, right? Which one of these incredible ideas is going to power our world tomorrow? Will it be gravity, green hydrogen, some next-gen battery, or maybe something we haven't even dreamed of yet? The race is on, and believe me, the winner is going to quite literally power our future.